Take it personal, but I ain't lying. I ain't hiding, I've been grinding, multiplying. I've been trying to get my weight up, staying prayed up.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, what it do? So I'm holding the tripod right now towards the sun, y'all. I don't know why I always decide to start recording when the sun is going down, but yeah, we finna get into it. I'm gonna try to go fast as possible, but I don't want to rush the video. Today we're gonna be getting into the pros and cons of being a flight attendant. So I'm currently in my 3rd month at a major US airline low-cost carrier. I'm not gonna say the name directly, but I'm sure you can figure it out by the colors and watching my videos. But yeah, so I'm currently 3 months in, and before I even get started on this list, I just want to say that as of now, the pros definitely outweigh the cons for me. Before I actually started this job, you know, of course I did tons of research on this career, and I think the piece of advice that really stuck with me was that you're not really gonna know how you like it until you're actually doing it. When it comes to the aviation industry, it's definitely gonna be something that you either love or hate. And even if you do love it, there's still gonna be some aspects of it that you don't particularly like. But once you know for sure that this career path is for you, you eventually just learn to roll with the punches. But yeah, so you'll usually know within the first 6 months whether you love or hate this job. And a lot of new flight attendants do quit within the first months of them starting, because this is not just a regular 9-to-5 job. Like, your entire lifestyle dynamic changes, okay? You're not just sitting at a desk for 8 hours and then coming home to your family. You're constantly away from home from extended periods at a time. You're constantly up and down in the air, which can have a big effect on your health. The hours are long, you're always tired, you get jet lag, you can possibly be dealing with unruly passengers all day. Like, it's just a lot. And I will say that it's not for everybody. But yeah, I've probably watched about every single YouTube video on the pros and cons of being a flight attendant. There's also a lot of videos out there of people explaining, you know, why they left, and honestly the reasons are understandable. You know, at the end of the day, it's just really one of those things where you really don't know how it's going to work out for you until you're actually in it. And even if you end up not liking it, you know, you can still say, hey, like, I got this experience, I got the chance to be a flight attendant, because this job is something that, you know, a lot of people actually admire. Although it's definitely not all glitz and glam like everyone thinks from the outside looking in. But we're gonna go ahead and get into all of those pros and cons right now, okay? I'm not gonna go in any specific order. I'm gonna try to do pro con like that. But yeah, this will be a nice quick video. Go ahead and subscribe if y'all feeling the vibes at the end, and yeah, let's get right into it. All right, y'all, so the first pro that I have, of course, is that you get paid to travel the world. This is like the #1 reason why people pursue this career, to travel the world. Like, we outside, period. Waking up in a new city every morning is just something that I will never get tired of. Like, I love it. But don't get me wrong, you're not about to get, you know, a 24-hour layover at every single city that you go to. Definitely not. Some layovers are literally gonna be just enough to sleep, so about 8 to 10 hours. And I think that's what a lot of people's argument is when it comes to becoming a flight attendant just to travel the world. You know, they say, oh, well, you know, they don't even stay in the city long enough to do anything. But that's definitely not true. You're definitely going to have both short and long layovers. So let's say, for example, you have a 3-day trip coming up. For the first night, you're going to land in Austin. You're going to lay over for about 9 hours. That's literally just enough to rest. But let's say the next night you're going to be landing in Atlanta and you get a 20-hour layover. So that's enough time to go to sleep, wake up, shower, go out and explore the city. So yeah, your layover times definitely vary. You're not gonna have enough time to see the city on every single layover, you know, but we do get some. But anywho, being able to explore, you know, different destinations and countries, different cultures, if your airline flies international, is just an amazing experience. My airline flies to the Americas, so North America, South America, the Caribbean, and actually my first time technically flying international was this past Valentine's Day. I did a turn into Cancun. It was literally just a turn out of Dallas, so you know, even though I didn't get to go out and go lay on the beach or anything like that, I will say that the view from the plane was so beautiful. You know, the amazing blue water, seeing all of the resorts like lined up on the coast. Like, I just really thought that that was a really sweet Valentine's Day gift to myself, to say that that was my first time out of the country. But yeah, if you're someone that loves to travel but you just don't want to spend all of your own money doing it, then this job would definitely definitely be for you. Okay, now a con to traveling the world as a career. You are not gonna have any kind of social life back home, at least not when you're starting off on reserve. Once you eventually hold a line, it does get a little bit easier to maintain your social life. But yeah, being a flight attendant in general, you're going to be away from home for extended periods of time, you know, away from your spouse, your family, your friends. You will miss very important family events, holidays, weekends, all of that when you're on reserve, okay? And I will tell you that it can get lonely, especially if you have a significant other or children. It can be really hard to be away from them all the time, and that's why I decided to take this job, you know, while I'm young. I don't have a spouse or any children as of yet, but I definitely do still be missing my family and friends, okay? Even my dog, y'all. I be missing my dog so much. Like, I miss sleeping with my dog every single night. I miss her taking up the whole bed and me about to fall off on the edge. Like, that's my baby. But yeah, so in order to cure that loneliness, you know, that creeps up every now and then, I try to stay in contact with all of my family and friends by calling and texting them whenever I can. I tell them all about my layovers and stuff because they be curious. Whenever I'm on the phone with my mama, I'll be like, where Mango at? Put her on the phone. And then another thing that I try to remember is that I will eventually hold a line. When you're starting off as a flight attendant, you're going to be on reserve, which means you're on call. You have zero control over your schedule. If they call you for a trip, you are expected to drop everything you're doing and run to the airport, literally. So it just makes it really hard to schedule things with people, you know, outings with your friends and family. But once you hold a line, you have your schedule for the entire month. You know where you are flying to, when you are flying. So in turn, it'll become way easier to plan things. So I just like to remember whenever I feel lonely that this is only temporary, and eventually I'll be able to hold a line and have control of my schedule. Also, I know I said that I took this job right now while I'm young with no man or no kids, but don't get it twisted. A lot of these flight attendants have families back home, okay? They've been flying for about 30, 40, 50 years, you know, and they just make it work. They might have spouses with regular jobs, you know, that can take care of the kids while they're away. When it comes to relationships, it can be really hard for people who aren't in the aviation industry to adapt to their partners constantly being gone all the time. So a lot of flight attendants just date other flight attendants or pilots just because they understand the lifestyle. But there are still plenty of spouses out there with regular jobs, okay? They don't mind their partners being gone all the time, so everybody's situation is different. But yeah, I'd also recommend making friends with other flight attendants while on your trips, okay? Don't be a slam clicker. Actually get out and socialize. That actually helps you to not feel so lonely as well. All right, so another pro of being a flight attendant is that you get flight benefits. You can fly anywhere in the country on standby for free, or if you want to go international, all you have to do is pay the taxes on the ticket. And this is not just for the airline you work for, this is for other airlines as well. Your airline is going to have contracts with other airlines, so you can fly on just about any airline that you want. So, you know, let's say you've been craving some gumbo or something. Well, on your off day, you can take a quick little day trip to New Orleans. I just think it's so cool to have that option to get up and go whenever you want. And then your family and friends have flight benefits as well. I think I can have a spouse, a travel companion, my immediate family, and I have a few buddy passes for friends too. So let's just say that you and your boo want to spend y'all's anniversary in Jamaica. You know, all y'all gotta do, pay the taxes on them tickets. Boom, y'all ready to go. I definitely plan on using my flight benefits eventually. I haven't taken any leisure trips as of yet. I've only used mine to commute to Chicago back and forth when I was based there. I would take United, but yeah, I definitely plan on taking some leisure trips in the future. Okay, so another con about becoming a flight attendant, and partly the reason why I haven't taken any vacations, is because the starting pay is extremely low. So that glamorous lifestyle that you see on TikTok, you know, a flight attendant taking vacations every other week, is definitely not reflective of a new flight attendant. Those people have been flying for a couple of years, okay? Their seniority is high, their pay is high, and they hold a line. So yeah, for at least the first year or two, the reality is you're gonna be a little brokey broke. You're going to be working overtime to make ends meet, unless you decide to get a second job. Now, some airlines definitely start out at more than others, okay? My particular airline is pretty competitive compared to regional pay, but it's still definitely not enough to just go out and feed an entire family, okay? Unless you're just working a crazy amount of hours every single month. This is a big reason why a lot of people quit this job within the first 6 months, because it's just simply not enough money coming in depending on what your expenses look like and how much you're willing to work. I personally have learned to drastically lower my spending, okay? I do a lot of meal prepping for my trips. Flight attendants do not just eat out at nice restaurants every single day. Like, no, definitely not. We do pack food from home. I try to save my eating out money for good layovers. So if I know I'm gonna be in New Orleans for 20 hours, then yeah, for sure, we splurging. But any other time, I'm finna eat this chicken, rice, and veggies that I cooked at the crib. But alright, so how the pay works. You get paid from the time the aircraft door closes to the time the aircraft door opens. So you do not get paid for boarding or deplaning. It's literally from pushback to block in, which really ticks a lot of flight attendants off because it's definitely the most laborious part of the flight. I hope that laborious is a word. I don't know, it sounded right. You do get per diem while on your layovers. They're about $2 to $3 per hour, so it's not really a lot if you think about it hourly, but if your layovers are really long, you know, it actually does add up on your check. Another good plus about the pay is you do get a yearly raise, which is actually pretty good for my airline, especially after the second year. So you really just have to stick with the company in order to see some real pay. This industry is very big on seniority and loyalty, okay? So the longer that you stick with the airline, the more that you'll begin to reap the benefits. A lot of people complain that flight attendants starting pay is way too low, and I agree to a certain extent, but I also feel like this job has such great travel perks that the companies kind of want to weed out the people that are just there for the perks, you know, or just there for a check. They're more so looking for people that are actually dedicated to this lifestyle, you know, or dedicated to the airline. They show reliability. And so that's why I think personally the first few years are the hardest. So with that being said, a lot of flight attendants either pick up more trips or they get a second job in order to make ends meet. When I first started, I was still working at my hotel job back in Houston. I have quit now that I'm trying to permanently stay in Dallas, and so I'm just gonna focus on picking up more trips. But yeah, at the end of the day, there are still ways to make ends meet. You just have to be prepared to bust your butt for the first few years. All right, now I want to follow up with another con that we were actually just talking about. Life on reserve is very challenging. Being on reserve means that you are on call, aka standby, aka you have zero control over your schedule. You never have any idea where you're going or if you're even going anywhere until you get that call. So you know how on your last job you were able to make plans with your friends, you know, to go out on Saturday night? You're not gonna be able to do that with this job because they will most definitely call you at midnight in the middle of the club. Hi, yes, Christina, I was calling to notify you of your 2 a.m. show tonight. Thank you. You have 2 hours to get to the airport. Bye-bye. So yeah, life on reserve can initially be very tough, okay? Making any kind of plans is pretty much impossible. You're gonna be tired. Your body is gonna be tired trying to adjust to being up and down in the air. You're gonna get jet lag, and 9 times out of 10, you will not be living alone, okay? You're gonna be staying in a crash pad. So a crash pad is a shared housing accommodation for flight attendants and pilots. It is where commuters sleep if they don't live in their base. So for example, I live in Houston, but I was based in Chicago. So the day before all of my shifts, I had to fly into Chicago and then I would sleep at my crash pad. Now roommates can range from 2 to 10, 15 people, just depending on what you have the money for. But they are typically cheaper than, say, you know, an Airbnb or some kind of apartment rental, things like that. Because I mean, it's called a crash pad. Like, you're literally just paying to crash. This is not your house, okay? You do not have a lot of storage room. You cannot take hours in the bathroom. You cannot invite your friends over. Like, this is literally just a place to rest your head. Sharing a space with people you don't know can be a little tough for people. You can pay a little extra to get, you know, either all female or all male, depending on what you're looking for. But yeah, just in general, staying with other people is something that everybody doesn't really, you know. But yeah, so just to wrap this up, you know, think about, you're a new flight attendant on reserve, okay? day. You're still trying to get adjusted to the uncertainty of your schedule. You're not making a lot of money. You're living with people that might not be the nicest, you know, or you just don't like sharing your space in general. It can be really, really stressful, and it's definitely why a lot of flight attendants quit. You know, this job is not for the weak. Personally, I'm really good with my money. You know, I know how to save. I had money saved up before taking this job, so I was, you know, I was ready for the pay cut. When it comes to living with other people, do I like it? You know, not necessarily, but all of my roommates, I can tell you, they've been pretty decent. You know, we haven't had a lot of cleaning issues. You know, they're not rude. Like, everybody's nice. Like, I can put up with it for now. And what keeps me going with this job every single day, I just remember, like, hey, I'm still getting paid to travel at the end of the day. Eventually, I will hold a line and things will get easier for me. When you hold a line, you can bid for the schedule that you want at the beginning of the month. You can fly as little or as much as you want. Like, you just have so much flexibility, which brings me into my next pro. Once you hold a line, this job becomes very flexible and you never get bored of it. And even when you're on reserve, you know, you're never taking the same trips twice. You're never flying with the same people twice. That's another thing. You usually never fly with the same flight attendants more than once, and you might not ever see them again, depending on how big your base is. And while some people may hate the uncertainty of this job, a lot of people love it, and that's what draws them to it. Personally, once I graduated college, you know, I was like, yep, no more sitting inside these four walls at this job. I'm about to go out and see the world. At first, I stuck with my 9 to 5 because I crave the stability, you know, I crave that stable paycheck. But now I crave the spontaneous, you know, not knowing where I'm going, like not knowing who I'm flying with, not knowing the people that I'm gonna meet. Like, I'm loving that now. And a lot of flight attendants, you know, once they leave the aviation industry and try to go back to a desk job, they absolutely hate it. As a flight attendant, you know, yeah, you might be on your feet all day, you might get tired, but at the end of the day, you leave all your work on the plane. Like, there's literally no work to take home. You know, you spend a couple hours in the air and then you're good. You're at your hotel. And as far as flexibility, a lot of flight attendants have different careers. You know, there are nurses, doctors, lawyers, professors, all kinds of people that just fly on the side, you know, once they hold a line. The flexibility really gives you time to build the kind of lifestyle you want. You know, if you want to start a business, if you want to start on your YouTube channel, you want to sell merchandise, the options are really endless, so you don't have to just fly as your only source of income. Okay guys, so I just gave y'all 3 general pros and cons on becoming a flight attendant. Like I mentioned earlier, the best thing that I can tell you is that you are not going to know how you like it until you're actually doing it. And you know, something else that may heavily affect whether you like this job or not would be the airline you choose. You know, are you going with a mainline or a regional? What does their contract look like? What is the starting pay? Where are you going to get based? Like, it's just so many things that are different within each airline that will probably affect how you like the job. My current airline is the one that, you know, everybody loves to laugh and joke about, talk about how they would never fly the airline. And I ain't gonna lie, you know, I laugh at the jokes too. I used to be one of those, oh, I'm never flying them. The first time I ever flown them was literally for training. I used to believe in the whole stigma that they were so terrible, you know, whoop de whoop de whoop. But the entire time that I was in training, I just couldn't get over how much I love the atmosphere of this company. I felt like I belonged, you know, it felt like family. It's extremely diverse, which is something that I was looking into, you know, as I was applying to different airlines. And what everybody sees on the media is literally just like 1% of what happens on a normal flight, okay? Like, every airline has those unruly passengers, incidents that happen. I feel like everybody just likes to bag on this specific airline because we're low cost. I have yet to have anyone kicked off of my flights for unruly behavior, okay, knock on wood, but it has not happened to me yet. At most, I've had to tell people multiple times, you know, maybe 2, 3, 4 times to pull their mask up over their nose and mouth. But for the most part, everybody has been pretty respectful. The flight attendants absolutely love it, and overall, I just feel like I would not find this type of atmosphere, you know, at any other airline. A really funny story, 2 weeks after I completed training with my airline, I got an email from another airline asking for an interview, you know, to further in the hiring process or whatever. Back when I was actually applying to places, you know, I applied to 3 different airlines at the same time. One was like dang near an immediate no. One was like like, hold, you know, we got a lot of applications, we'll get back to you. And then the other one, which is my current one, they were like, you know, come on with it. So yeah, once I completed training with my airline, that's when the other one came back and they were like, okay, you know, we're ready for you. And then of course my family was not very fond of the airline I chose. Okay, this other mainline, they have a much better reputation, the starting pay is a lot higher, you know, so it's kind of like, why wouldn't I go with that airline? So, you know, they was like, oh yeah, you need to do that interview ASAP. Like, they had all the jokes in the world, and I would just be like, you really thought you ate? Give me that plate. But nah, so I ended up becoming a little torn on what I should do, because I ended up falling in love with my airline, okay? And then another thing, I did not want to go through training all over again, because that stuff was stressful. I did not want to start over with a whole new company, you know, do a whole new training after I had already put so much time and energy into this one. And like, my heart, I just felt like I belonged here. But I also didn't want to look crazy in front of my family, okay? So I took it to God, you know, I asked him, what should I do right now? Should I stay where I'm at, or should I go for this larger opportunity? Like, I truly did not know what to do. And the day that I got confirmation to stay, oh my gosh, y'all, it was such an emotional day for me. I told y'all I didn't know, you know, whether I should stay, whether I should go. I knew that I had loved everything about my current airline, and the only reason I was really even considering the other airline was because of outside influences, you know, other people telling me where I should go, you know, why I should go with this other airline, because it's deemed as acceptable, you know, on paper or the media. But the day that I got confirmation from the Lord that I was exactly where I needed to be, I just broke down in tears. I remember I was on a layover in St. Louis. I was in the hotel doing my daily devotional, and this particular message was talking about how we shouldn't let voices that are not the voice of God dictate, you know, what we should be doing. And I just remember boo-hooing on the floor for like 10 minutes straight, because I knew that the Holy Spirit was telling me that I was exactly where I needed to be. You know, I was so happy, I was content, I'm still content, and I just couldn't see myself anywhere else. A lot of new flight attendants might be pressured to go with the airline with the biggest paycheck, but before you do that, I'm gonna tell you to do your research, okay, on these different airlines, because with those bigger paychecks, you know, comes a lot more responsibility, a lot more work, you know. 9 times out of 10 the company is a lot larger, so that means that you really just become more of a number and not a family. So I'm just telling you guys not to choose an airline strictly off of the paycheck. You know, check out their values. You know, what does the atmosphere feel like to you? If you get, you know, a bad feeling in your gut, don't go with them just because the check is big. And it's actually really common for a lot of new flight attendants to start off at the smaller regional airlines and then move up to a mainline, you know, a couple years later when you have some experience. So at the end of the day, just research everything there is to know about being a flight attendant, as well as the different airlines. But yeah, I just wanted to share my personal experience with the career so far, just to give you guys a better idea of, you know, what you could expect possibly. Comment down below if you've been thinking about becoming a flight attendant, maybe something that's holding you back, if you have any questions, things of the sort. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you so much. I'm trying to hurry up because my camera about to die, but yeah, I love y'all, and I'll see you next week.